Hello there, Drew Hanish of Whiskey Lore, and time for another whiskey tasting. Today I am doing a tasting of Deanston's 14-year-old organic. Now, I bought this when I was in Kentucky because that's what I do. I buy Scotch when I go to Kentucky. I know. Oh, the contrarian. I bought this because I so absolutely love Deanston 12. Deanston 12 is 12 years in ex-bourbon barrel casks. Really nice, complex whiskey. One I love to sit with. It's up there with the Glengarry's, and it's going to escape me now that I started to bring up a list, which happens. Just really nice, complex flavors in this whiskey, nice nose on it, somewhat subtle, and so definitely one of those whiskeys that, Craig Alecky 13 is, to me, the best bargain you can find on the shelves in terms of a complex whiskey. Don't just knock it back and think you're going to enjoy it because you'll miss the show. It's one of those you just want to take your time with, and that's what Deanston 12 is for me. Now, I've been hearing that Deanston 12 is getting harder to find, and maybe that's because other people are starting to figure out what I figured out, which is that is an exceptional whiskey for what it is. So when I was looking on the shelves, I'm up there in Kentucky and I'm going, what should I bring home with me? I saw Deanston 14 Organic and I said, this sounds really interesting. I've had a lot of fun with the Bruichladdich organics and trying the different types of barley, and this is using local barley, and it is certified organic. Whether that makes a difference or not, don't know, because once you distill, if there's GMOs or whatever, does that really matter as much? Hard to say, but on this whiskey, 14 years, it's basically 12 years in bourbon casks, so I understand, and then an additional 2 years in virgin oak casks. Now, it'd be interesting to know whether they actually char those casks or if they're just toasted virgin oak, because look at the color of this whiskey. Now, that's 14 years old, okay? And while that doesn't overly surprise me for a Scotch, what does surprise me is, let's look at the 12-year-old. Okay, going through the same process, sitting in the same warehouse, but look how much darker that is. For all the bragging of non-chill filtering on both of these bottles, in fact, this one goes as far as to say, unchill filtered exactly as it should be. My guess is, and maybe they can confirm, but looks like they used a little bit of colorant in this one. And it doesn't really say anywhere on the label because usually it's legal for Scotch, Irish whiskeys, many whiskeys around the world except for bourbon, to be able to put color into their whiskeys. Probably a couple others too. I think American Single Malt probably won't allow color. Maybe not. I don't remember that as part of the regulation. So, what is the difference between these two? I've really kind of gotten in the mood of taking some of these different expressions and comparing them to the whiskeys that I know. And when I bought this bottle and I got it home, I was really excited. Popped the top, poured myself some, let it sit for 14 minutes before I went to sip it so it relaxed in the glass a little bit. Hadn't noticed the coloration difference at that point. And on the nose, immediately, it really stands out. This has a much stronger nose on it than that one does. But it's an interesting, complex, but different nose from the 12. Not totally different. It still has, there's always a little like mineral note that I pull out of Deanston. Then there's, you get some of the orchard fruit in there. You get a honey note. Sometimes you get a little vanilla coming out of that bourbon barrel. This one, as I pull back from it, I actually get, what would we call that? They are little, gosh, what do they call those things? They're wafers, basically. Little wafers that have, like well, not really a honeycomb pattern, but sort of thing on the top of them. They're very fragile. They snap and dust goes everywhere. But they have little bits of cream in between each of the layers. The vanilla version of that's kind of what this reminds me of in terms of the scent. But there's also this muscly note that comes in that I don't really get out of that one. That the best way I could describe it is, I don't know, it just seems like, again, a loss for words. Muscly. I've heard people say that's muscly. I think muscly in this term is really pushing more towards kind of a robust, almost overly pronounced note. It's like really there. And to me, it's kind of more in the oak, but not like the oak that I've been smelling for like Jack Daniels and those, which is very much a char type note. This is not a char note. This is a woody kind of a note, but it's not like sawdust. It's not like anything else that I've really smelled before. Okay, let's do a sample of both these. 46.3% ABV, by the way, so no difference in proof, in case you thought maybe that was the coloration difference. That vanilla wafer is right out front. Wow. And then that is what caught me, is what happens with this. Unlike Deanston 12. Now, when I have Deanston 12, it's nice on the tongue. There's nothing aggressive, and it allows you to explore the complexity. In this whiskey, it starts out with this really sweet vanilla. I mean, really sweet vanilla that coats and then really grabs your attention. It's almost like vanilla pudding. I mean, it is just really, really there. And then it goes to this peppery citrus note. And it's peppery, maybe gingery, a little gingery, and it all kind of grabs your attention. And it so grabs your attention that you can't really pay attention to the complexity anymore. It is actually consuming your senses and taking you away from this gentle roll through a bunch of different flavors. There may be complexity underneath this, but almost like a peated whiskey, when you do an Octomore, and Octomore is so peaty that you have to really pay attention to what's going on underneath it. I sense that's what's going to have to go on here, because it's got a really nice complex nose, and an interesting scent that comes out of that maybe you guys can describe better than I can if you've had a chance to nose or taste this. But then, like I say, starts off on the sweet note. It's like, whoa, okay, I'm having some banana pudding here, or I'm having, vanilla wafers and the rest, to all of a sudden, whoa, where's this spiky little peppery citrus note coming from? And it really does steal the show once it gets to that point. I will say that this bottle is getting better. When I first tasted it, I think with Deanston, you have to have this as a sit down and enjoy whiskey, not a whiskey that you drink mindlessly. Because if you just drink it mindlessly, or you're talking to friends or whatever it may be, the peppery note again is just going to grab you. And so my initial impression with this whiskey was, wow, that's not Deanston at all. That is just pepper, and I'm just not really into it. But now that I've had a chance to kind of sit there, sip it, and get a little bit more of give it more of a chance, and maybe now that the bottle's been opened a little bit also, the pepperiness isn't as aggressive as it was before. And I'm gonna jump on this one just to remind myself, yeah, much lighter nose. The honey is there. You get the orchard fruits, but nothing's really jumping out at you quite as quickly. And then that vanilla is there, but it's more subtle. And there's some nice orchard fruit and light pepper notes coming in, but they all are kind of doing a little dance around each other. Nobody's going, hey, look at me, which is the difference between that to that. Have you had the organic? What do you think? 14 years old, and you go, okay, it's a little older, maybe it's a little more mellow. No, that one is more mellow than this one is. This one's a wee bit aggressive. So, I don't know. If you've tried it, leave your comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, give me a like, and subscribe if you'd like to watch more of these along the way. And until next time, cheers and Slainte. Boy, if I wasn't putting it up against, wow, okay, that citrus actually hit more up front too. Almost an orange, I think. This is one of those cases where this is a good whiskey. If I didn't compare it to Deanston 12, I would probably say this is a very good whiskey. I think that my expectation has been dashed a bit because of how much I do love Deanston 12.